Hey, you want to hear a joke?
Now, as Prime Minister, as you know, I'm regularly up in front of you and I deal with the hard questions that are put to me. You know, if you're Prime Minister, that's what you have to do.
That's right, Mr.
Well, I just reject the premise of the question.
Thinks that he regularly deals with the hard questions. I mean, I've regularly seen him do the exact opposite. I've seen him avoid, deflect, or the classic turn, smirk and run away.
Thank you. Australians are the winners. Thanks very much.
Now, let's not pretend that this is a trait unique to Morrison. Politicians of all stripes will do what they can to avoid answering difficult questions. But Morrison has elevated avoiding questions to a dark art form. The most common technique for avoiding a difficult question is a deceptively simple one that Morrison employs almost daily. Rather than answer the question that's been put to him, he'll instead provide an answer to a question he wasn't asked, but would prefer to talk about.
Prime Minister, on COVID, isn't it time to end COVID mandates and go back to living life as normal?
Well, first point I'd make is that with 95% of the country double dose vaccinated for those over 16, and we're well over 16, I'm pretty glad I had the third dose.
Me too.
Because my experience was a bit like the Treasurer's, not that flash. And so that's why I would encourage people to go out and get that third dose. I spoke to the Chief Medical Officer this morning, Professor Kelly. Our hospital system is functioning well within the tolerances. And so we'll continue to proceed cautiously. And that's why we've saved over 40,000 lives. How good's all of that? And so we will continue to be careful with the medical advice, but we'll get the balance right.
That's not his only technique though. Morrison puts to work a whole range of tools. Here's a gold standard example of how the PM deals with a yes or no question he does not want to answer.
Was the withdrawal of troops a mistake?
Well, let's talk about the history.
He starts off with the traditional answer a question you'd rather have been asked instead, and then he combines that with a bit of waffle. He's really hoping that the interviewer will not push him for an actual response, or that the interviewer will just find it all too hard and move on.
Yeah, but the question still remains then, if that was the case, was the withdrawal a mistake?
He continues dancing around the question until the interviewer returns.
So did you disagree with the American decision?
David, I'm not going to go into those discussions.
Well, the Australians who served there, the Afghans as well, deserve to know. This is an important question, a critical question. Did you as Australian Prime Minister disagree with the American withdrawal?
Waffle.
You have a unique position as Australian Prime Minister to talk
if you'd let me
to the
finish,
American President.
I
understand that, Prime Minister.
And as the Taliban... And David,
I'm sorry to keep asking this question, but
please, David,
still don't have a clear answer.
David, if you'd let me finish.
Whether you agreed or disagreed with...
I'm sorry, David. I'm going to insist on finishing my answer.
Okay then, get mad and insist you're answering the question. And after 4 minutes of waffle, the interviewer gives up and moves on.
Let's turn to the pandemic, Prime Minister.
Question unanswered.
Questions that are put to me.
It's not just questions from the media that Morrison avoids answering, it's also questions in Parliament. Last year there was independent analysis done confirming that Morrison had deflected almost 200 questions in Parliament since becoming Prime Minister. In contrast, the same body could not find a single example of Julia Gillard deflecting in that way during the time she was Prime Minister between 2010 and 2013. So here's a fun little exercise. You can actually look up parliamentary questions on notice. Just jump on the Parliament of Australia website and search for questions on notice. Or you can just click the link in the description. To look at all the questions asked of the Prime Minister, select Prime Minister from the drop-down. To find all the questions the Prime Minister has avoided answering, select Unanswered from the Questions